If I were black and saying the things I say, I wouldn't be alive.
Bullshit!
The day after Martin Luther King Jr. was killed by a society that hated him because he was going to change the economic situation in this country, I did an exercise in discrimination with my third grade classroom to let my little third graders, all white, all Christian children, find out how it feels to be something other than white in the United States of America. I split them according to the color of their eyes and treated those who had the wrong color eyes for the day the way we have traditionally treated blacks. Oh, it showed me a lot of things. Number one, it showed me that racism is a learned response. Nobody's born a bigot. You have to teach bigotry, and that's what we do in this country.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's a powerful conversation. She's had an interview with a gentleman by the name of James Causey. Great nuggets that we really must look at. This is information that can help us learn a lot about a major fault line in society, the question of race, and certainly in black and white America. It's an important conversation to have. If you live in Africa, you know this affects you because you will travel as an immigrant or just as a visitor in the West. You will have to confront the conversation, the question of color, the question of race. Soon as you land in the Western capitals, you become aware, apparently, that you belong to a box called black. There's something good about it, and certainly in society, the negative elements the minute you are branded black. That's what I want us to look at, and share your thoughts in the comments. Come right back at the end of this very powerful conversation between Jen Elliott and this gentleman. This is Afrocentric. Let's dive in.
For people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a third grade teacher in a country school in Riceville, Iowa, and I am here at the NAACP speaking because the day after Martin Luther King Jr. was killed by a society that hated him because he was going to change the economic situation in this country, I did an exercise in discrimination with my third grade classroom to let my little third graders, all white, all Christian children, find out how it feels to be something other than white in the United States of America. I split them according to the color of their eyes and treated those who had the wrong color eyes for the day the way we have traditionally treated blacks, Native Americans, Asians, all those Jews, all those who are different in appearance or in religion. And we learned more that day than I wanted to know.
What did that study show you?
Oh, it showed me a lot of things. Number one, it showed me that racism is a learned response. Nobody's born a bigot. You have to teach bigotry, and that's what we do in this country. I found out how it feels to be on the receiving end of racism because I'm blue-eyed, and the brown-eyed children were on the top in that first day. And I found out how it feels to be treated badly by people over whom you have power because of having the wrong color eyes. I found out how it feels to be subjected to unbelievable and unreal discrimination because of a physical characteristic over which I had no control. I thought I knew about racism. I thought I knew about child psychology. I knew nothing. All I knew was what I had learned in school. And what I had learned in school was not education. What I got in school wasn't education. It was indoctrination. I was taught how to be a good American citizen. And in this country, we think that the only Americans are the ones who live in the contiguous 48 states of the United States. Americans are everybody from the very north tip of Canada to the very southern tip of South America. But we, in our arrogance, say that we are the only Americans. If you're really going to keep this America to Americans, we don't dare build a wall on the southern border of the United States because those people, those brown-skinned people that are going to come across that border are Americans. Now we'd better choose our language or choose our behaviors. Let me tell you something. It wasn't a study and it wasn't an experiment. I don't experiment with children without their knowledge or their permission. It was experiential education. It was giving a child an experience for the purpose of changing their brain. And that's exactly what it does every time I do it.
Now, you conducted the same study, not study.
Exercise
with adults.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And is it any different between the children and the adults?
Adults get more violent. I've been hit several times by white males, angry white males. I've had a knife pulled on me. They ran me out of Uniontown, Pennsylvania at midnight one night. 3 carloads of blacks did, to get me out of town because the teachers that I put through the exercise in a very limited way were so angry that they called the superintendent in the afternoon and said, if you don't get that bitch out of town, we're going to kill her. So they got me out of town. First time I've been scared. And the last time I've been scared. Because I found out that day that they could kill me, but they couldn't kill the idea. Victor Hugo said, no force on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. The idea of one race, the human race, is an idea whose time has come. We are not going to be able to stop it no matter what they do. They can elect Trump after Trump after Trump, and that will not stop the idea that there's only one race on the face of the earth. It's the human race, and we are all members of it. You and I are cousins. Now, if you don't like being my cousin, that's too bad for you. But we are all in the same family. We are members of the family of man.
You say that all whites are racist. Can you expound on that, please?
Any white person who was born, raised, and schooled in the United States of America, if you aren't a racist, you're a miracle. Either that or you decided to educate yourself. Because education in this country is about white is right, brown's all right, black's got to stand back. Yellow's mellow, but whites, we educate in a way that says that white males have done all the adventures, have made all the adventures, have done all the discovering, have made everything that is good and has been accomplished according to social studies, which is actually anti-social studies, by white males. It's a lie. But we do that in order to maintain the myth of white superiority. The myth of race has to be maintained at all costs in this country. Because if white people have to give up the color of their skin as being something that makes them perfect, what do they have left? If we start teaching the truth about history, if we start teaching about Nile Valley contributions to civilization, it will totally change the way we conduct ourselves in the classroom. It will have to. Columbus didn't discover America. You can't discover a place where people are already living. But we celebrate that every October. It's a lie. We need to get over, we need to stop telling the myths and start telling the truth.
So when you tell people that they're racist, and it must have some kind of effect, because most people will say, I'm not racist.
I'm not a racist. Why, some of my best friends are black.
Right.
Yeah, and then you say, name one. Or this one, I don't see color. And when some woman says to me, I don't see color, I say, I knew that. If you saw color, you wouldn't dye your hair that way. Or I say, if you saw color, you wouldn't wear that shirt with those pants. I believe that you don't see color. It's an attempt to deny skin color. And it's an attempt to deny what's wrong with seeing the color of my skin. Is it all right for you to see me kind of pink? That's okay for me. I don't mind. And I suspect that you don't mind being seen the color you are. You have a right to be what you are. And until people in this country and people in this world get it into their heads that the first modern human beings that evolved on this earth were black women. They evolved in sub-Saharan Africa about 280,000 years ago, and every human being on the face of the earth today has the memory of those black women's genetic structure in their genes. Now, we don't want to admit that, but that's the way it is. And as people moved farther and farther from the equator, their bodies produced less and less melanin, so their hair, their skin, and their eyes got lighter. As they moved into the east, they ate a lot of fish and a lot of vegetables, so their skin took on a different tone. I found that out when I was raising little kids. My husband worked in a supermarket. He was the head of the produce department. And they had lots of oranges that they couldn't sell, so he'd bring them home. And I was feeding my kids orange juice like you never saw in your life. They began to have an orange cast to their skin. I thought they had a liver problem. So I took him to the doctor, and she said, what are you feeding these kids? I said, well, lots of orange juice. She said, stop it if you want them to stop being orange. Now, if you think that skin color isn't anything other than the body's natural reaction to the natural environment, get over it.
Get over it. It's getting sad.
Get over it. That's the message, and what a powerful message from Jane Elliots. She's a powerhouse on issues race, discrimination, human rights. I mean, this is so fundamental to how we relate across board, man. It's always baffling that the idea that somebody else is better or superior has been passed along, because there's no other explanation. This has been indoctrinated. This has been baked and screwed into the minds of young people as they grow up. And then the systems have been put in place to ensure that that is sustained through the years, through the decades. And certainly the whole concept of slavery never helped this thing. I think it is perhaps the biggest stain on the human race that some people could sit and decide to enslave others.
Went down to the river Jordan.
And that servant.
And we know this happened in the Western capitals. We certainly are aware that it happened in the Arabian capitals. They were some of the first ones to come to Africa to engage in this very sickening trade that then created this social strata of the lesser, that you've got somebody else perched at the top, somebody else in the middle, and somebody else at the bottom. It is a sad state of affairs. And like Jane Elliott says, bigotry is learned, it's taught.
The law should be fair. What are we teaching our kids?
It's drilled in and carried through to many generations. This is what those who are believers like her must fight. And certainly those who are leaders of any shade, be they on the continent of Africa, in the Western capitals, this is a constant conversation that we must have.
All men are created equal.
We have got to train young people. Correcting adults, the old dogs, might be too difficult. But certainly those who are coming up. You look at what she's saying about the wall in the southern states. This is an old interview, but Donald Trump has just come back to office. And now some of those that felt they were wronged by him are part of that bandwagon.
Say it on three who I'm voting for. 1, 2, 3. Strong. Very smart group of people.
The MAGAs, the believers in making America great again. But making America great again for who?
We're all immigrants.
Who really is this person who wants America great again? Well, a huge part of the conversation about greatness is about supremacy. The whole idea of make America great again is about exclusivity instead of inclusivity. Perhaps relating to the American hegemon being challenged by other nations now, such as China. That superiority that has driven the West is certainly under challenge. It is part of that complexity of the continuous control of the world, of resources, that we see how Africa even relates with the West.
Cooperation between the United States and Zaire under President Mobutu's leadership stretches back through 20 years and 5 United States administrations.
We have seen how nations such as Kenya, Congo have related to the West, and how puppets have been created of African leaders to continue that hegemon of the US, but certainly the supremacy complex, the superiority that somebody wants to continue drumming, that they are better human beings. Says who? I agree with that. We are a human race. That is what we are. That is what we must see ourselves as. Why somebody should think that they are any better is a farce. It's tragic.
I am the best.
She talks about extending the same experiment to adults and how the reaction has been so violent because it challenges what has been taught, what has been a point of privilege all along, that you are now tinkering with a status quo that other people have benefited from, based simply on the color of your skin.
Thank you very much. Wow.
We've now seen Donald Trump has become president, and we can see that there's Brexit from the US, those who are feeling that it's not going to work for them, that the system has been rigged, that it's working for certain people, certain sections of society. For us on the continent, we say this is home. This is home, man. Welcome home.
My sister and I are the first generation to make it here.
And it's just truly amazing.
Find a footing, find a space where you can thrive. And certainly for kids who are born in the West, if you are able to give them the opportunity to be raised here, while they do not have to constantly prove who they are, humans, above anything else.
I am African. She knows now.
That they don't have to walk through life discriminated, disenfranchised through and through, as if they're second-grade citizens. We know that America has its ways, and certainly the whole consumerism is something that is pushing the capitalist system of the States. It's a trap. A lot of people are falling into that. And the complex that helps push that, obviously, is the supremacist complex.
I am the chosen one.
So let's have a candid conversation. Why should anybody feel they're any better or any lesser? It's the indoctrination that has contributed. It is the framing in society over time that has left or pushed others to the side, while others have managed to benefit from the system. Ultimately, we're human beings. That has got to be the bottom line. This is Afrocentric. We celebrate Black, we celebrate our culture, we certainly celebrate our own achievements. And I hope that by doing this analysis and these commentaries, we can extend the conversations beyond the borders of the US, the States, to Africa, to Asia, to Western capitals like London, Bonn, Sydney, Australia, you name it. Many thanks for watching, and as usual, I appreciate your time, sparing a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. Please check out the video that is next, and we'll see you again in the very next one. I'm out.